In this GarageBand Creator Series video, I'll be talking to an artist who has just released their first single, recorded and mixed 100% in GarageBand. Let's go. Hi, my name is Pete, and welcome to Studio Live today, where I help you create, record, and release your best music. And in this video, I've got a very special guest here as part of my GarageBand Creator Series. I'd like to welcome to the channel, Mr. Cess van der Vlis. How are you doing this evening, Cess?
Hey, Pete, I'm doing fine, and it's afternoon in Holland at this moment, so I'm doing fine.
Excellent. Well, yes, and you've given us a bit of an indication there that you are in Holland, so we are fairly on opposite sides of the world here, which is fantastic, and it's so good that that I can chat to folks who are creating and making great music from all over the world. So, what we'll be talking about today is your released single. So you've released a single. You're part of a group called Pascal Potential, and you've just released your very first single called Cover Act, which will be linked down in the description that folks can go and check out. But if you're new to this series, what I'm doing in this series is actually chatting to folks who are creating in GarageBand, because I know a lot of you are creating in GarageBand, and we're going to find out a little bit about the process that Cess has gone through here. So why don't we start by talking a little bit about your musical background? What got you into music, and what's your musical experience?
Well, I'm happy to be here, first of all.
Yes.
I've always been kind of a music fan, so not really making music, but listening to a lot of music and DJing when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I started making music in a punk band with a couple of friends from school.
Yeah.
And we're talking early 90s here. I was in my 20s, still had some hair left. And I was a drummer, actually, so I learned myself to play drums. And well, playing punk drums is not really hard. We had this polka beat stuff, like doing tuk tak tuk tak tuk tak tuk tak all the time.
Yep.
So that was great. And I didn't start playing guitar until I was 27. So.
Wow,
and that's the same acoustic guitar which I recorded my song with.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very cool. That's a late start to getting into guitar. To start with drums and go to guitar. I think most folks like me start with guitars, and then we actually really want to be drummers, because as much as we make fun of drummers, we would actually like to be them, because there's nothing more fun than just like whacking the skins as hard as you possibly can and playing some of those punk beats. And you say it's not that hard. I think to play punk well can be quite difficult to actually get the timing and the faster, playing something at 150 beats a minute. It's not the easiest thing in the world. So obviously you've moved into now creating and recording and releasing your own music. So tell us about the release here. Tell us about Pascal Potential and your single Cover Act and how that all came about.
I released a song together with a friend of mine, and he's been writing songs since 20 or 30 years. I've known him from my high school, which was called Blaise Pascal, and I liked the name Pascal, and Pascal Potential sounded good enough. So we see each other on a regular basis, and I said to him, I'm doing this thing in GarageBand and making songs, and I said, how about a challenge? We come together, we sit for a few hours, and we see what we can come up with.
Excellent.
So we did that. We really had nothing. So we started out at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And after an hour, we had the basic structure of the song. And we recorded it in GarageBand, just the guitars and a virtual drummer.
Wow. Yeah.
And
It's really effective. So I've been listening to the track. Let's give it a couple of spins again today, and yeah, it's very sort of laid back, sort of mellow sound. But the quality of the recording is something that I was really impressed by. So yeah, tell us a little bit about how you actually got those sounds with the guitars and the vocals, because they're really clean. And when folks listen to the track, I was listening today, and then I listened to one of my tracks. And I'm like, oh, Cess's song is so much better mixed and mastered than mine was. I need to get some tips when I chat to it today.
Well, I watch your channel, so I've
I was
learned a
looking
lot.
for that compliment. Yeah.
But one of the things you said that you did was you recorded your vocals mostly too loud in the mix. And so I used compression on the vocals. I also used compression on the guitars. I used some EQ, the LRC5 plugin,
Excellent.
and I used a USB microphone, the Samsung Meteor.
Excellent. Yes, one of my favorites.
That's a very good mic, and we recorded it just in the living room of my house. So
Yeah, wow.
so yeah, and then made a basic mix, and in about 6 or 7 hours, it was, well, the basic track was done, and then in the week after that, I added the bass, I added the glockenspiel. That's the toy glockenspiel.
Yep.
And added some automation also, and let's see, in the bridge I used some other sounds as well from GarageBand also.
Yeah, excellent.
And then I made it a little bit shorter because it was longer, and the last part was beginning to feel not original anymore. It was repetition.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I thought, yeah, maybe I'll instead of adding something like a guitar solo, maybe I can just cut it, and it turned out to be just over 2 minutes.
Yeah, and it worked out well. And I did notice that. And as someone who likes to write shorter songs, and I think listeners these days, and we talk about attention span, and I talk a lot about people's attention span is fairly limited. So I think a 2-minute song is actually really cool, because if people are streaming songs, yeah, quite often they'll be flicking through and they'll be like using the skip button and the shuffle button, and they'll be like, oh, I've got 2 minutes in, yeah, I get the gist, and they move on. So yeah, I must admit I've written a lot of much shorter songs these days as well, and I love that. That you got the point across. You got it's a really cool song, really poppy, really good vibe in the song. And yeah, that you created it all in GarageBand is so cool, and obviously is what I'm all about on this channel, is the minimalist approach. And to hear that, USB microphone, recording in your lounge room, in your living room, and being able to get the sort of sound that you got and the quality you got is awesome. So yeah, well done on the song. What is it that got you into GarageBand in the first place? So obviously you're creating in GarageBand, and you're creating with your friend there. What started you on your GarageBand journey?
Well, I about 3 years ago, I discovered GarageBand on my iPad. Well, on my wife's iPad, actually, because she had it for work, and I looked at it. Oh, GarageBand. Oh, heard something about it, and I thought it was only a thing where you could play around using virtual instruments, and I really didn't know that you could record more than 8 bars until 2 or 3 months after that. So I started making some dance beats with the GarageBand loops, and I thought that's it. But then I looked on YouTube to see if there were any tutorials about it, and I stumbled across your channel and Dan Baker's channel, excellent musician, and I saw you could do so much more, and then I really got enthusiastic, and from that time on, I tried to save my musical ideas. When I had an idea, I would record it in the dictaphone or in the music memo app, and then did a lot more guitars, compression, EQ, and got really interested in mixing and in the sound aspects of it.
Excellent. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's so good because every time I hear a story from someone who's creating in GarageBand, and it really is, it opens things up for folks that perhaps, you know,
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't be doing this, and you probably wouldn't have released a song if you had to go and book studio time, or if you had to set up a, you know, a big studio PC in the corner of your house. But to know that just using your mobile device, just using GarageBand and a
Yeah.
couple of, like, a USB microphone, and yeah, you can get the sort of sound that you got there, which is really, really cool. Now, I in previous videos, I've asked people what's their proudest moment using GarageBand. Now, you've just released a single, so can I be presumptuous and think that that's probably your proudest moment in GarageBand, is getting that single done?
That was a very proud moment. Getting it out there, that was very proud. But using GarageBand itself, there are a few moments also when I use GarageBand, when I discovered how to get my acoustic guitar sounding like an electrical guitar. That
Oh,
was
yes.
really great, a really great moment. And also finishing my first real song in GarageBand, one that I didn't release, one that I made like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I listened to it just this week, just to check, and I thought it was horrible. The mix was terrible and really muddy, and but now I can, yeah, I can really see what's wrong with it. So it's really been a learning experience, and I love to learn. So
Yeah.
I'm learning something new every day about GarageBand, about making music, and I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent, and yeah, and again, it's so good to hear. I know that I beat on about this a lot, but yeah, being able to see back on your progress and having finished songs and having songs in your repertoire. What a lot of folks do is that they just sit on songs, and you'll probably release your next single in another few months, and then when you're releasing your album in like 2 years time, you'll look back on this and go, oh, I could have done so much better, I could have done all these things so much differently. But I think it's really important to get started, and for anyone who's watching this who's thinking, yes, I'm inspired now, absolutely do it, because you'll thank yourself, and you'll thank Case and myself for encouraging you, because once you actually get over that first song, and it is important to release it, you don't have to go, and we'll ask Case about how you release this in a moment, but you don't have to actually release your song. But if you just put it on YouTube even, or SoundCloud, like, there's so many ways to share your music, and you get so much good feedback, as Case is about to, because we're going to make sure that folks go to the link here and take a listen to the song. So when you recorded and mixed, then tell us about the mastering and then the releasing process and how you went about doing that, because I know folks are going to be interested in how you actually finish your song, get it mastered, and then get it released.
Yeah. When I was happy about the mix, I thought about mastering it myself at first, and I bought Final Touch, the mastering app for the iPad, but I wasn't really satisfied with what I did. So I looked at some alternatives, and one is getting your song mastered online by some mastering service, and this one called LANDR. And so I mastered my song with LANDR, and I really liked the results.
Excellent. Yeah,
I did this just in the it was free. It wasn't I didn't pay anything for it. The downside was that the quality was a bit lower. It was MP3.
Yep.
But you really can't notice that. So
it's quite amazing, in fact. And I did a video, and I'll link it up there, because that's the sort of thing we do here. But yeah, I did a video on LANDR recently about how you can do your own mastering, and I was actually seriously impressed by the quality of LANDR. And I went in thinking LANDR was only really for, like, dance music and EDM music that you wanted to really crush, but there's actually some quite good settings in there that I found that you could actually dial in just a bit of light limiting and compression. Like you don't actually get control over it, but you can set that sort of whether you want it to be really highly processed or not. And yeah, that again, listening to your song and the master of your song and the released version on YouTube, on Google Play that I listened to it today, yeah, it just sounds so clean. It's nice and loud, but it's super clean. You don't get that pumping or that overly distorted or limited sound that you can get sometimes when you master, which I've done and many of us have done, where you overdo it. You're like, I'm trying to get that competitive volume, and you do too much. So yeah, so it sounds like it was a good choice for this song particularly because it sounds fantastic.
It was, thank you, and I made sure when I mixed it, I left a little headroom. Some of that headroom GarageBand also takes up, because when you export the song, it still normalizes. But I think that worked out really well. But the next song I plan to release, I'm going to try to master myself with Final Touch. And I released the song using Amuse, which is a free app. It's a Swedish company, I think, and they released the song, and it's also absolutely for free. So you can get your song when you have a good song, a great idea. You can get it on Spotify within a month, and these are the possibilities I want your viewers to know about, and just do it.
Excellent. Great advice. And yeah, I've talked about Amuse and I've talked about DistroKid. Like there's cheap and free ways to get your music out there these days. And you know, some people from the old school might say that, you know, you shouldn't have this democracy where everyone can release music. People know my view. It is that, yeah, if you've got a song in you and you want to get it out there, it doesn't matter if one person, 10 people or 100 people or 10,000 people listen to it. It's for you. It's the art. You've got art that you want to share. You can share it with the rest of the world, and you can do it through these services. So absolutely just go for it. Now, I know, in case that people want some tips, they want to do what you're doing here. So what would you, we're going to go into the last 3 questions here, and these are the real technical stuff. So for the people that want to know the ins and outs here, what would be your top tip for creating in GarageBand? What's your one aha moment where you went, yes, this is what's made the difference in my recordings and made them better?
Check the possibilities for the merge function. It's really a hack in GarageBand, and you can use it for all kinds of stuff. I used it in the past to make a soft vocal a bit louder, because by merging the track with itself, it also normalizes the volume. So that's a tip that you can do. Excellent. And I spend a lot of time watching tutorials on YouTube, and you can get paralyzed by watching this stuff and not really doing something. So I got a tip to limit myself. I remember you once said, just make your worst track ever.
Yep.
Because you're creating, and that's what it's about. So stop watching this video about 2 men talking about creating songs, and just go make a song and set yourself a limit. Say I need to have a song within an hour or something like that, because you've got to create, because you get a lot. Learning is much faster then.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't have said it better myself, because I probably have said it before. But yes, no, absolutely. Once you finish watching this video and you've hit like and you've subscribed to the channel, then you can go away and create your own music. Absolutely. But no, I do. The reason that I put these videos out here is fundamentally because I think that everyone has the ability and the right and the need to create. If you're an artist and you're trying to create music, and when you're succeeding with it, yeah, getting it finished and getting it done and getting it out there is super important. A couple more questions here, and then we're nearly done. So we've talked a little bit about the gear, but what's your favorite bit of hardware? It could be anything. Could be a guitar pick that you like using. It could be your guitar itself, a microphone. What's your favorite bit of kit that you like to use when you're recording or playing music?
Well, I'm not really a gear person myself. But I would say my acoustic guitar, and my Lightning to USB adapter, of course, because else my USB microphone, the Samsung Meteor, and that's about it. And GarageBand itself, but if you can consider that gear.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, exactly. When people say, "Oh, I don't really use much gear," I'm like, "Well, you've got an iPhone or an iPad that you're connecting to. That's a pretty good piece of gear to use. That's your whole studio. That's your hard drive. That's your PC. That's your Mac. It's the equivalent to all that." So, yeah, and I think from a previous video where I talked to Patrick Moonbird, he had the same sort of response to that. And most of the GarageBand creators I talk to don't tell me, "Oh, yeah, I hook up all of this thousands of dollars worth of gear to create a good sound." They write a good song and then use the gear that they have to create a good sound. So it's always refreshing and reassuring to hear responses like that. Final question for you, Case. It's been a pleasure here chatting to you today. Everyone out there wants to know how they can be like you and release their first song. What is the best piece of advice that you've either been given in the past or that you would like to pass on to Studio Live Today viewers who are looking to create music?
Well, we've talked about some of those things, but I'd say in addition to that, record your song ideas immediately. I've noticed that melodies, when they are in my head, they just as fast go out of my head. So record them. I've been in full trains saying la 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 la, recording my melodies. And you don't be afraid to fail, and just keep practicing and practice regularly. You can better to practice like 10 minutes every day than 1 hour in a week for once. So
absolutely, repetition and habit and just doing it over and over again is absolutely essential. Well, I wanted to thank you, Case, for providing the time and providing such excellent insights for us here today. Is there any parting words or thoughts that you have before we finish up here?
The pleasure was all mine, and I would like to say to your viewers, keep creating, and once you've hit like, then go to your GarageBand and create, and have fun with it.
Excellent. Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. So thank you to my guest today, to Cees van der Vlis, and make sure that you check out his new single from Pascal Potential called Cover Act. It's available for streaming right now. He's got an excellent song.link, which is linked down below, where you can check it out on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all the usual suspect places. And yeah, if you want to subscribe to the channel and see more videos here, you can click or tap on the link up in the top right corner. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.